I know I'm such a fool, right? Hello and welcome. I told you I got to change that. That's all about music.
I mean, I'm not much of a musician, but I can fake it.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm your host, McAngeline. This is the Bad Filipino podcast in special edition because it's a Saturday night at 8 p.m. And usually I'm in bed by now because my usual schedule, I'm up at 3 a.m. for work, which means I get to sleep in a whopping till 5 a.m. But this is an important episode because my longtime friend ever is on the show. Anaconda, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on your show.
Yes, it's going to be very, very special because today it's going to be all about you. So we're going to do our little like kind of catch up girls catching up. And then you're going to go right into an awesome drag performance. Then we're going to review the movie Godzilla versus Kong because we need to. And then we're going to finish out. You're going to give us one of your classic Deadtime stories.
Yes, it's been a minute since I've told one, so I'm super excited.
Yeah, for real? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess it has been. I wouldn't know because I go to bed.
I know. Like our schedules no longer coincide, which I'm really sorry for, but 5 a.m., girl. Mm-mm.
That's sleeping in. I'm so used to it now. And it could also be that I'm old. I'm just so used to it. It works for me. I don't do anything in the evening anymore. So I have like I'm up super early, and then my day is done, and it's still morning. So I still have
Right.
like the whole day to get stuff done. It's
Right.
cray. It's
Yeah,
cray.
I hear that.
So how about giving before you and I catch up, and then before
Mm.
we definitely, because we're also going to pre talk about the real world homecoming. We have to. Why don't you give the listeners and the watchers a little background on Anaconda and how she came to be?
Oh Lord. Okay. Do you want the long story or the short story? Either way, it's a story. Anaconda, as I tell it around the way and how the club kids refer to me as, Anaconda's body was found in the dumpster behind a closed down, rundown Blockbuster video. And through witchcraft and a few Jaeger shots, she was resurrected. And now she's back and she's determined to take on the drag scene, the club scene, the horror scene. She's looking for any casting couch she can lay upon in order to get that Scream Queen role that she's been looking for since the 80s.
That works for me. That
But
totally works for me.
yeah, but in the real world, Anaconda was sprung from a little small town boy's love and desire to be one of the Scream Queens. I grew up on 80s horror and 80s glam rock, and Anna's just always been stirring beneath the ribcage. Now she's actually in the world causing a lot of havoc and some property damage.
I love it. And before this pandemic hit, you were performing live as well, right?
Yes. Oh my God. Like before the world went to hell, um, both me and my drag sister Fanny Rugburn, we had four sold out shows here in Florence, Oregon, and we were planning to take it on tour. We had dates set up all across the coast, and we were so ready to go, and then everything just got shut down. So, um, yeah, so a
Mm.
mausoleum here for the children on Friday or Saturday nights, just to keep a little spooky in people's lives while we wait for clubs to reopen.
And I love those. In fact, before I had to go to bed, when this right before the sun went down, I would join in because you give fabulous performances and you tell really good scary stories.
Thank you.
You
Thank you.
really do.
Yes. Scary stories have been a staple of my world since I was a very wee little one. So I'm glad I could share and bring some more, which also I am writing my own stories now, which I'm going to start performing both on my YouTube channel soon and on my Facebook Live nights again, because they are happening.
Well, beautiful. I can't wait for that. Okay, before I forget, are there any links you want me to share, or just you want people to know that they can find Anaconda on, I know, Instagram and Facebook?
Right. I'm also on the Twitter. I occasionally like tweet my Twitter. Um, it's all under Anna_Khonda, Khonda.
Okay.
Yes, and soon the YouTubes will be alight with her channel as well.
There it is.
Yes.
I'm going to put that, okay, on FB, IG, and the Twit.
Yes.
That work?
That works.
So like right there, what I have there, that's what it is?
Yes.
That's it. Please stalk her. Please. She loves to be stalked. It's
Mm,
her thing. Okay. And then so, because we've known each other for quite some time,
oh,
I'm going to reveal our age in a sense because we met in 1997.
oh my God. Yes. That's crazy.
That's a lot.
That's
That's a lot long time ago. We've been friends almost as long as the cast of The Real World, the original one.
that's true. It's true.
Which is how I'm going to segue right into that because I just watched the 6th and final episode of Real World Homecoming. When did you see it? Did you see it this morning?
I watched it last night. I was up.
Oh, whatever.
I know. I know. Yeah.
And okay, I'll let you go first because this was the original that kicked it off, that started it all. So you had your 7 original roommates. They all came back. Becky
Yes.
pulled a Karen, ass and elbows out of there, episode 4, if I got that correct.
Yes.
Yes. How did let's go with like, okay, because I don't care if we ruin anything because whoever watches it, whatever. I just loved how it felt genuine. I mean,
Yeah.
I realize things get cut and things get edited, but for the moment, it felt genuine.
Oh
I
yeah.
could definitely relate to everybody because they're like my age group.
Mhm.
How
Yeah.
did it leave you feeling from when you can recall from then to now?
I like watching them all come back together and like the discussions they were having that they had in '92 and are still happening today. Like I, I hadn't really thought about how much that show informed my life before I even got out into the world. Like I don't know. It was just amazing to see these people, and I just felt like these were like some educators of mine. These were people that like sort of prepared me because I was not down for staying in small town Texas once I graduated high school, and so like I bolted out of there into the great big real world, and so um, it's like I don't know. It's like everything that was going on with them totally informed how I would relate and how I would communicate with other people. So I was glad to see now that they were still just as open. Well, 90% of them were just to communicate and to have the rough discussion, which I don't know. I thought, like you said, it was just extremely genuine.
You know, same for me too, because when that came out before I came out, because that was 92 when that
Yeah.
original season happened. And in fact, that was the year I was getting married to my then husband. So before I came out.
Yeah.
And I remember because it was the first of its kind, it literally had no template to follow. It
Right.
really started the whole journey of reality TV and just everything from then live screenings to live Instagram, live Facebook. That was the catalyst. So
Yeah.
it really exciting to watch the different people from all different walks agreeing to be under one roof and decide to face each other, not face each other, argue about it, come together about it, have fun with it.
Right.
And I never thought I would my life was nothing. I think my life was somewhere between Julie's
Sure.
and Andre's, maybe, because I didn't have a whole lot going on in my life, at least compared to the other 4 or the other 5.
Right.
And it opened my mind because I was so naive back then. I was naive to anything that wasn't straight and wasn't married.
Sure.
I totally 180'd, Anna. 180'd. Even when you first because when you first met me, you know
Yes.
what I'll never forget? I remember inviting you over when I was still living, because I was separated from my husband, but we were still under the same roof until I could get out on my own.
Right.
And I remember you walking through the door, looking around and going, "This is not you, hon.
Right.
Why are you here?" It was like because you were an outside influence, you had an unbiased look. You saw me. You didn't see the years that led up to that year to
Right.
know, what I went through. to living the life I thought I was supposed to be living. And for you to, you don't know what that did for me. It was the first time I had someone with a complete outside influence really see me.
Right.
So
Right.
thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me into your world. So it was a
Because that
lot.
must have been so weird for you. You're like, oh God, another one that's just discovering herself.
Well, I honestly, like, leaving Texas and then like moving to California, like, I didn't meet a lot of people who were just finding themselves. So it wasn't like you were, I mean, you were kind of a unicorn. So so it was a new experience
Yeah.
too. I just wanted to be as open and readily available to you as I could be, because I knew the struggles that you were going through. I just didn't know like the length and breadth of them until we actually entered each other's worlds. So
And had a chance to talk. And even after, you would be very vulnerable and honest with how hard it was for you coming up, because when we were hanging out, that was the same year when Matthew Shepard was murdered, and
yes,
all of the press that went around that.
yes,
With hate crimes before they were called hate crimes. Geez,
right,
before laws were passed,
yeah,
it actually was a flip-flop. People would actually get away with it because they could say someone being gay triggered them because they're not, and
right,
it created this, I cannot believe this was actually acceptable, and created this fury, and they could get off like without any reprimand, without any consequence, without jail time for
right,
that. And that blew my mind.
right. Like one more thing to like make us the catalyst or the trigger for all of the bad stuff. Like it was just
Yes.
like, oh, so we're your trigger now just by existing. Great.
I mean, because our generation, not only that, but we witnessed Ellen's TV show when she came out on television.
Yes.
I had
Yeah.
that on VHS for the longest time.
Right. Yeah. It was a different world. Let me tell
Oh my Lanta. And so when I watched the episode, which I literally just finished an hour prior to the show, I was in tears for half of it because I'm absorbing 30 years of change in the world. I mean, about to turn 53, and it's amazing for me to look back and go, wow, I've grown through a lot, and
right.
I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, and I've really grown up myself and opened, and I've become woke. I used to be a Becky before I became, a Kevin. And when I'm referring to those, not even character, the actual real people in the real world, I can remember not understanding. There was because they really focused on racial injustice and homophobia for
Right.
these episodes, right?
Right.
And I really liked that because I didn't follow a lot of the real world episodes of the different seasons long after. So I didn't know that they had so many characters since that one.
Right.
Everyone from queer, lesbian to even transgender. I didn't know.
Um,
I mean, did you watch any of those?
I I watched up until like I was devoted and I was like hell bent on getting on the show. I
I
think
remember that. Oh my God. Didn't we help you record your demo?
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
my first girlfriend, because you and I and my first girlfriend, we all three lived together. That's right. And we
Yes.
helped record. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Keep
Yes.
going. So sorry.
But
That was quite the memory.
I know. I watched up through season 12, I think, but at the point like that season 12 hit was like I think that was Las Vegas, and the entire series was nothing from the very first episode was nothing but all of them trying to sleep with each other. So I was like, done.
Done.
It's no longer this like brave new world social experiment. It's just become reality TV for reality TV's sake,
Like Prey TV. It's like all the people wanting to just bang each other because that's really what the world is about. No, it's not.
Right.
That is what I loved about the very first season was since there was no blueprint and they didn't know how it was going to turn out, they picked real people.
Yes. Yes, they did.
From every walk of it, how they looked, how they identified their
Right.
career goals, their
Right.
thought processes, their upbringings. It was all seven were completely different from one another. And
Yes.
kudos to the show for finding 7 folks
Right.
that agreed to be in, you know what I'm, and then not even and stay the whole season. Nobody bailed.
Right. Yeah.
And they had some heated moments in those 3 months they lived together.
Sure. Yeah. I still, if you haven't checked them out, they are on Paramount Plus. Season 2 and season 3, which is season 2 is LA, season 3 is San Francisco.
I loved San Francisco.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
When like they each had their own lives going on amidst all of this. They had their own jobs, they had their own careers. Now, like when we get to season 12, it's when they start doing like have their lives taped and have them work together because none of them have anything going on. So it's just like these 7 horny people.
Oh my gosh.
Working and living and sleeping together.
Oh Lord. Yeah, that's boring. I mean, at least for you and I in our age group, I guess that age group, it really sold.
Sure.
I mean, at this point, it's just Tinder on MTV.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Right. It's Tinder and Bumble and OkCupid on MTV. Yeah. I think, you know, and I really felt for Kevin. I'm glad, you know, when they showed that whole blowout with Becky and Kevin at the end of episode 5, I thought, you know, we're missing a lot here.
Right.
Because by the time you see that, because it's really short clips, they're both interrupting one another. And I thought, you know what? There's got to be more in this last episode. They showed more. So there was a workup to that point.
Right.
And there are so many people like Becky. I think when you are like predominantly white representing in America and really the US, because America is a lot more than people want to admit, but in the US, it's a hard nut to swallow to know that you're going to have to do a lot of listening and a lot of witnessing what's really wrong that needs to be corrected. And then it's easy to take it personal, like it's all about you when it's nothing about you.
Right.
It's really hard to listen and then have it not be about you. I went through this. I'm speaking from experience.
Right.
I've had to grow from that myself.
Right.
I mean, I'm half Filipino, but I'm half white. And I grew up in a lot of, I admit it, I had privilege. I grew up in it. I benefited from it.
Sure.
And so, and then by that point, Kevin's just tired. You know, there was a time when I didn't understand why it wasn't acceptable. I shouldn't say acceptable, but it didn't make sense to have to ask the person who's being oppressed, tell me why you're oppressed. I didn't see it from that point of view.
Right.
It's no different than for me. I thought it's like when you go to the grocery store and you want a specific cereal, but you don't know which one, where it's at. You just ask the clerk there where it is instead of doing the research yourself. That's what it feels like. So I can understand from that point of view, but that's as far as I'll go for the understanding. It's like after that, sit back in it, think about why that is.
Right.
You know, and so they handled that so good. And the flip of how Eric was this craziest 180 turn on that show.
Yes. Yeah.
From partier and model and all these insecurities to this spiritual like traveler.
Right.
Who knew?
I know. Who knew Eric Nice would Who knew, right?
Oh gosh. Anyhow, so okay, so now let's get to a part of the 3-parter that we discussed. Since now you're going to do a performance, right?
Do a song. I wasn't sure if I would be like copyright tagged if I did a song.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think of that.
I don't know if that will like mess with your podcast.
Well, let's see. It's broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. So I think the only one it's going to show is Twitch.
Right.
I mean, that's like, oh my gosh. Were you able to find a song that, you know, you're doing all mainstream music, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I have things at the ready all the time. So like, good thing I put my sound system in here just in case, but we don't have to do a song. I don't want your podcast to be taken down because we broke the law.
No, you're right. Actually, to be honest, Facebook has been really, let me tell you what, I'm going to complain. I was so upset. They're so legit making sure that nothing is plagiarized whatsoever with music, that if I try to share even 10 seconds of something, it'll mute it.
Right.
So, and now that I work over at Odyssey for 98 Rock, like when I posted the Friday morning, because Panama by Van Halen was playing, I took the video, went in an app and sped it up just enough so that Facebook couldn't figure it out.
Track it. Yeah.
So the song's a little bit faster and Facebook didn't mute it. So if you have a way of playing your song a little bit slower, a little bit faster, maybe should we take that chance?
I don't have that technology, girl.
Never mind. Well, darn it. Okay. Well, okay. So you're right. Let's not flag this and have the whole damn thing taken down. So if anyone wants to see a performance by Miss Anaconda, drag scream of Deadtime Stories, you'll have to wait and see she'll be a private dancer on her Facebook page. Will you be performing next week?
Yes, I will. No, wait.
Mm-hmm.
Not next week. Deadtime Stories is coming back the first weekend of May. Oh my God, we're already coming to May. So yes.
Oh my.
First weekend of May with all new content, original ghost stories.
Nice.
Music, yes.
Well, then fine. Why don't we go into the movie review and we're going to end it with a beautiful, classic, freaky Deadtime story. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
Okay. So here we go with our review of Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes. Spoiler bound, people.
A lot of spoilers. So if you don't want to know, you can stop here. I actually wanted to pull up, I don't know why I even wanted to bother to pull up photos. Never mind. I can't even play anything. But so.
Yes. I'll
let you go first.
I can tell with your size, you have plenty of opinions about it.
I have. You know what? Overall, it's a good movie.
Sure.
My issue with it's a quick one, but it's an important one.
Sure.
But let's not start off with that. So why don't you, because you have already, you've known for reviewing movies, especially horror flicks.
Yes.
Under your YouTube channel. Did you want to go a little bit into that?
Oh, yes, we can do a brief discussion about my YouTube channel. I used to do which is still up and running. Well, it's up. I mean, you can still see all of my content because I believe in keeping my history. But my boy self, Kid Kruger, would review horror movies, horror merchandise, horror subscription boxes, things like that. And I would make videos about that. And I had my own intro and I was super jazzed about and excited. But for some reason, I stopped doing it a couple of years ago because for some reason I was getting a lot of hate from the online horror community for being a homosexual male talking about horror because apparently I wasn't allowed to have that opinion.
Oh my goodness.
So I kind of it took the wind out of my sails, so to speak. But I recently decided that we're doing a little revamping because my YouTube channel has become a channel for Anaconda's live performances and club gigs and stuff like that. Why not just turn it on its head and be what I was always meant to be, which is one of those 80s horror hostesses, and just talk about all of the horror genre, whether it be literature, movies, merchandise, actors and actresses, because that's a passion and obsession of mine. And it's something that fuels Anaconda's soul way below these undead boobies. So the YouTube channel is coming back. I'm filming content as we speak throughout these past few weeks. And I'm going to start releasing movie reviews, of course. And we're just going to start having horror discussions online. And once I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll be able to do Facebook live streams.
Nice.
Which is my dream. Because talk with all of the Darklings and we can have frank discussions about whatever we want. So
perfect. I love it. I look forward to that. Okay. Yes. Well, I think you have every right and are right in your space to review movies. So let's start off. What were your thoughts on this depiction of Godzilla versus Kong?
Okay. So upon watching it, I for a second had to sit with myself and think, what do I actually want from a kaiju movie? Because I was raised on the old school Godzilla and King Kong films, right?
Same.
So, and with these past few iterations, this MonsterVerse started in 2014, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so many people were upset with the first Godzilla because Godzilla was kind of ominous and you didn't really see Godzilla until the end, which I actually enjoyed because it kept you interested, it kept you waiting, like it was building up to something. After that, of course, we had Godzilla versus King of Monsters, or Godzilla King of Monsters, which it had every kaiju under the sun from the get-go. And then it killed the majority of the big league kaiju. So then we came to this one, which is just the one-on-one match, which I thought great. Like maybe this will be the happy medium that everybody enjoys. I enjoyed the movie. I thought the effects were beautiful.
I agree.
I think they actually have gotten the kaiju almost to photorealistic effects. Great. The cast was great. The story was a bit convoluted for me and a little bit I don't know. I had to keep repeating what they had just said to myself in my head. So I'd have to pause it for a second. I don't know. I don't know. I'm still conflicted about how exactly I feel about it because I still don't know exactly what would make that perfect kaiju film for me.
Okay.
Um yeah,
Can you compare it to one that you have seen that's close to a representation of how you feel it could have gone? Is there a film out there? Or are they all this convoluted?
no, see, for me, the first the 2014 Godzilla was as close to something as I wanted. I mean, the human characters, they were actually developed and you actually cared what was going on. It was I was a little how to put this? I still feel that for it being a Godzilla property, it was awfully, for lack of a better word, white.
No, that's the perfect word. That's the perfect word.
Which I know we're going to get into, but
Yeah.
King of Monsters, it actually spanned the globe, and there were Asian people, there were white people, there were black people. There was a representation. But then with this new one, literally the Asian characters from this storyline were completely cut out, and I don't know why. I don't it baffles me that all of a sudden these major characters from this franchise, it didn't even explain them away. It was just
Like,
gone.
what was the purpose of making the movie? Then you start to question.
Right, exactly. And they said they filmed this one when they filmed Godzilla King of Monsters. So this one has been in the can for a couple of years.
Right. Which makes sense because, Madison, Millie Bobby Brown, she does not look much older. So that makes sense.
Right.
I
Exactly.
mean, she's still growing as a person, and if there were a legit even 2 years difference, you would have seen a little bit, and you're right, there really isn't. It's kind of like when they did Back to the Future 2 and 3 back to back. They filmed them at the same time pretty much. Like boom boom boom, you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So overall, okay, well, okay, you thought it was cinematically, it was beautiful, CGI, everything else. Was there anything else you would say you liked about it? And how, out of a 10, what would you recommend?
Ooh, okay. Well, everybody knows that I love a good popcorn movie. Um,
Mm-hmm.
every movie has to have a deeper meaning. Not every movie has to be an Oscar contender. As much as I love awards season, like I love just the thrill of a movie. So for that aspect, I mean, I wish I could have seen it on a big screen. Of course, in a perfect world, our theaters would be open and we'd be at IMAX witnessing such a thing.
And I almost did because we have some open here.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. There's safe distancing, wipe it down. You're sitting like 2 seats in between, whatever. But I almost did it, but I stuck at home.
Yeah. I'm waiting till I'm fully vaccinated before I'll even contemplate.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. That's for sure.
Yeah. But this movie, I don't want to be
do it. It's the Bad Filipino for a reason.
Right.
Mm.
I'll give it a 5 out of 10.
Ooh.
That's
a big deal, y'all. If you don't understand how this person reviews movies, that's legit, and that's a big deal.
Right. And I
because you love, like you said, that your horror films, your anime, you love it all, and you dive deep. You give very, very thorough, unbiased opinions. Sure. And you'll even say, even if I am biased, you're so 5.
Yeah, and
that sounds about right to me.
I'm typically biased when it comes to kaiju as well, both Godzilla and Kong. Like I grew up with these creatures, so like there's always love in my heart, and I went in watching this movie with love in my heart, but I just felt like too much.
I wanted to love it too, especially when I saw the main cast.
Yes.
I thought, okay. And the fight scenes and the CGI and the trailer is brilliant.
Yes.
That definitely hooked me because, like you, I grew up. If you're a true Godzilla fan, then you know who Godzuki is.
Right?
You know who Godzuki is if you're a true fan. I mean, because I grew up with Japanese culture. My dad remarried his third wife, who half black, half Japanese, but we grew up with a lot of Japanese because I spent a lot. Her father wasn't in the picture, but her mother was, who happens to be Japanese. I grew up on Godzilla, on the Raiden, on Ikusan, like all of them, right?
Sure.
So that's my culture there. So that's why I always have my heart's always in more than even Kong. Kong wasn't as an influence in my life growing up, but both characters. So I agree with everything you said. What I'm going to tag onto that. And yes. I also know that you and I are close enough to the same age. I'm trying to figure out who the demographic, who did they market this movie to? Because it's important to list that it is a white director, male white director, and 4 male white writers. It's important to say this.
Sure.
Because of the culture of where these movies come from. It just is. This isn't usually, because the way I will admit, I like getting the clickable stuff, and I like having that shock value, right? You should, if you remember, weren't you watching my live in the car with Phoenix, with Corey, when we were reviewing Avengers Infinity War, and I said that movie was so racist and sexist.
Yes.
I love to go for that. And people went, what? Clutch your pearls. What?
Right.
But when I brought up what I brought up, Phoenix couldn't deny it. He just didn't want to see it because he couldn't see it because he's so focused on the storyline and an MU fan.
Sure.
And I'm just looking at for someone who, if you don't know MU, this is how it comes off to you. And that should matter. Right. And they could have easily fixed that. They didn't. So same with this one.
Right.
These guys, I didn't look up their ages. I don't think any of them are over or close to your age and younger. It's got to be.
Sure.
Who was your demographic when you pitched this multi-million-dollar movie that it took to make it? 30 and under, everybody white, because it was like any sequel after Transformers to me. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of noise with no real direction.
Right.
It drops you in the middle of, you're like, what? Why is this? I have put my posts under the movie itself, and all the backlash that I get, I've noticed, have been from men, and they're black and they're white.
Right.
No word from the Asian community. So my issue was, and I'll say it now, how do you take the most iconic, legendary anime character from Japan, mm-hmm. who has top billing in a movie, and give him zero backstory and less than 35% screen time?
Right.
Why? Right. And you drop the movie right in the middle of the Stop Asian Hate movement.
Mm-hmm.
That's not smart marketing.
No, it's not.
Because this is the thing. I have yet to talk to, and I don't even know if I want to bother to ask them. I think that would be insulting and a waste of their time. Of the Asian community, how did you feel about that movie? I think if I really dove deep, they probably just gave up a long time ago and just know the US is just going to do what they want to do with our stuff.
Right.
They're just going to do that.
Yeah.
So, number one, why would you do that? Why would you alienate the very culture is the reason you're even making money off of this film? That character wouldn't exist. That character was birthed in the 50s.
Right.
It's a very deep character.
Right.
They love that character. And then you bring it in from the storyline of 2019, not even 2014, from the 2019 movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they loved him.
Right.
They even blurbed a little bit of it in there. Madison and Mark, right?
Right.
Dad, remember, Godzilla saved mom or us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they spent so much of the movie backstorying Kong, which I thought was great. Good. Thank you for that. That's great.
Sure.
Because people need to know, but I loved the little one, I forgot her name. This is bad review on my part. The one that was signing with her.
Oh.
Do you remember the name? I don't.
Of the little girl?
Yes, I'm going to look it up right now. You think I would have had this pulled up already, and I don't. Oh, they even threw in, God, where is she? I'm going all the way down this, and she's not even in the top. How is she not even in the top 9?
Really?
Okay, so the little girl's not even listed on the internet. All right. Evie, is that what you said? Evie. Did you say her name?
No.
Anyways, I'm bad. It's not even in the internet. I'm looking right now under cast.
Right.
She's not listed.
That's very strange.
So are we going to do that now? And she's indigenous to Skull Island, but hey, let's leave her out of the cast.
Yeah, she's like...
let's leave her out of the cast. She's the only one who actually had a connection. Gia.
Gia.
J-I-A.
Okay.
So, the fact that, she's the surviving of that tribe from Skull Island. So that's the connection with her and Kong. Like, they brought a lot of realism. And they even filmed more than half of the movie in Hong Kong, which it's not Japan, but it's an Asian damn continent. Right. So you couldn't afford 7 minutes of screen time.
Seriously.
Let me give you a little idea you could have done. You're already in Hong Kong. And even though it's not Japan, it's still Hong Kong, you could have because Godzilla travels everywhere. You could have a father who's in his 80s talking with his son who's in his 50s. Mm. And the son has a daughter who's in her 20s, and they're having an argument about it. Why? Because of that company that they know is doing bad stuff. And we don't know yet until towards the end of the middle to the end of the movie, right? What they created. Right. But we know that people aren't feeling too cool about it because what do? They threw in Homeboy with his podcast.
Yeah.
That was, I'm like, could you not have consulted with Jordan and Peele for a better way to put this character? Because he would have been a brilliant character in my.
Sure.
But they didn't handle it. You know how they handled it? I'm going to tell you, Anna.
Yes.
In Dirty Dancing, the white guy that walks around with baby and in 10 minutes spills the entire backstory of everybody who's ever danced at that place. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
just plot vomit for the 10 minutes is what this guy to me was doing. Mm-hmm. Everything was so quick, and the actors were great who they cast, and they were doing what they could with what they were given. I don't know, was there enough left on the editing floor that's what we're missing is explaining all of this? So we know people don't like that company. We know they think it's evil. Right. You could have had this 3-generation of family talking about that. And right. You could have the father reminiscing about Godzilla and the historical value of Godzilla. You can have the son going, yeah, Dad, and the dad's about progress. This company is going to do great things. And then the granddaughter can come out with, well, can't we just all get along and have her moment of, so they both go, aha. That could have taken all of 6 minutes.
Right.
And that could have been enough of a backstory to give Godzilla the heart he deserves. He's the first character in the line of the title of the movie.
Right.
How do you miss that?
I don't know. Like it's like, is this going to be another one of those things where like, oh, there is a better movie on the cutting room floor somewhere. If some studio would just stop interfering, the director could have had his vision. But I don't even know that that's the deal with this one. I don't think the director knew the material well enough to make a.
And maybe they are fans. Maybe the director and the writers were fans since they were growing up. Well, they blew it.
They blew it.
Whether you know it or not, you now guess what? In the US, if you're a white male in the US, you have a target on your back. End of story. Not for bullets or you're going to die, but people are really going to dissect everything you do and your what's the word I'm looking for? Your intentions with what you do.
Sure, absolutely.
That's just where it is. Okay. So in knowing that, and you still have the privilege that you have, you were afforded to make this movie. A woman wouldn't have been afforded to.
Right.
A person of color wouldn't have been afforded to, which makes no sense considering it's Godzilla. However,
right.
You missed an opportunity to not only give more depth to the characters in the movie, but to do right by Godzilla. End of story. You had that, and whatever. Maybe you filmed it and then you decided to cut it out, right? For instance, that's what made me think of when we watched this last episode, going back to the real world, homeworld, when, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on her name? The rapper.
Heather.
Thank you. Wow, my brain. When they brought on the producer and the the producer and the creator, one of the creators of the original, right? They came in, they were the surprise guests. Mm-hmm. And she has the conversation with, why did you cut out that that scene when my father came?
Yeah.
And that was so important because you never see Black families that are thriving and support one another. It's like the narrative that's always thrown to us is that Black fathers alienate their kids and Black mothers are on crack and all right. They've never had a dad. They have deadbeat. And it's so not true.
Right.
And they apologized.
Sure.
And Heather accepted it because that was 30 years ago and they're white and they're male.
Right.
And what you see is they've learned and they've taken that because they know their role in the world right now. And they know their role in the US right now.
Right.
And they're taking responsibility moving forward.
Yes.
They had no ill intentions when they did it. They didn't think anything of it because it isn't part of their existence.
Right.
But they had all the power to do it.
Yes.
That is how I feel about the director and the writers of this movie. Whether it was intentional or not, they still have this privilege of this power that others don't have. Mm-hmm. It's been a big deal when the first woman director to win an Oscar. It's like, that's a big deal. There's a reason they tell you why. Because if you listed how many movies have been in existence and how long this Academy has been in existence, it's sad and appalling, right?
Right.
So that being said, I will say one of the gems of the movie that I really loved, and I saw this, and I've shared this with 3 people who didn't see it when they watched it, but then realized how wonderful it was. And so maybe subliminal, it did leave a positive impact. It was the scene where Jaya, okay, here we go, spoiler. What was the name of that creature that Homeboy created from that company?
What, Mechagodzilla?
There it is. Is that what they called him?
Yep, that's Mechagodzilla. Okay.
Mechagodzilla. Never mind how he got to play. You'll figure it out later. So Mechagodzilla has now come to life through the magic of the powers of liquid from the center of the universe, center of the earth, and is battling Godzilla solo because Kong was killed, sort of.
Essentially.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But they bring Kong back to life.
Sure.
It was the scene when Jaya signs to Kong and says, Godzilla is not the enemy.
Right.
Points to the creature. That is the enemy. And in that moment, what you are seeing, whether the director and the writers meant to, you're seeing, because Jaya also represents the disabled. Yeah. Jaya is deaf.
Yeah.
So Jaya and Kong and Godzilla are representing everybody under the thumb of white supremacy in America and big dollars,
Right.
corporate greed.
Right.
So the creature represents corporate greed, represents all of the power that suppresses the others. And here Jai is going, here's your learning moment, Kong. You have been fighting Godzilla your whole life
Hmm.
before I was even in existence. But I'm here to tell you, he is not your enemy.
Right.
And because Kong trusts Jaya, Blight Bulb, and
Yeah.
without hesitation defends Godzilla to defeat the creature.
Right.
Because I was like, I almost cried actually in that scene because of that. Because I was pulled in with their relationship.
Sure. Like they were the heart.
Oh my gosh. Like when her guardian, Kong can sign how long? Well, Kong didn't want you to know. I'm like, bitch, that's right. Because Homegirl was like, I got you, Kong. I won't say Jack. And Kong says, I got you, girl. Thank you for having my back. And mom was like, how come I wasn't included? Because you're not included, mom. Like, that was a beautiful thing.
Right.
I loved that. That was a moment that almost makes up for the fact that Kong is, or Godzilla is completely shunned in this entire movie.
Right.
It took an indigenous deaf girl and Kong to let the whole world know, guess what? Godzilla's not the bad guy. And even after they were done, Godzilla was like, homie, we're cool. You saved me, homie. We're cool. And then
Right.
there we go. So
Yeah.
that was my favorite scene.
Yeah.
That
That
was
was
my favorite
yeah.
scene.
That was
So
great.
I agree with you. I probably wouldn't watch it again, even though I love the main characters. I think Millie did an impeccable job as her role as Madison.
Sure. Yeah.
The oh my gosh, here we go. Where did it go? I'm gonna have to look for their names. The two guys. Was it Bernie and Josh? I think.
The two that were on her adventure with her.
Yes.
Yes.
I liked them. I think it's interesting that they threw Josh in there because I think he was supposed to be nerdy comic relief, but was there enough left on the cutting room floor?
Right.
He didn't have his due, and I think he's great at what he does. I've seen him in about 3 or 4 movies.
Sure.
And I really dig. He's got range, that kid.
Yes.
He really does. So, I just feel like they really wasted those two actors and characters.
Yes.
It almost felt like they were like, well, we're just going to make sure we have non-white people in these roles. Cool. Next. I don't know.
Right.
Do I sound jaded?
Well, I mean,
Maybe.
maybe a little bit, but it's not without merit.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
Good.
what it is,
Yeah.
like I don't want to harp on it, but like literally the two Asian main characters of this franchise were completely eliminated. So, feel free to be jaded. I think
We don't have much. So when we do have it, we're going to hold on to it like a pit bull on a bone with nothing left on the bone. I mean,
right.
we're not given much.
Right.
We're just not. So, all right. I agree with you. 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
on that note, as we wrap this up, we're going to end it on a good note because you're going to tell a story. You're going to tell a story.
yes.
Right? All right. Feel free.
I am telling this story because it is the first around the campfire story I was ever told as a child. And it was the first one I used when I first started Deadtime Stories. So I thought we'd go back to a little classic tale here.
Yes.
So tuck in Darklings. If you have a drink, grab your drink. If you have a s'more, where's mine? And sit by the fire, and I'm going to tell you a little tale. Are we ready? There was a young girl who lived on a farm with her parents. And one night, as she was getting ready for bed, her parents were watching the news, and she saw that a nearby town in the sanitarium, a man had escaped, and they were currently looking for him far and wide. Now, this caused her a little bit of alarm, but her parents said, don't worry. We're out in the middle of nowhere. We're protected by the animals. Nobody's coming out here. You're fine. Go ahead and go to bed. So hesitantly, the girl did decide to go to bed, and she took her faithful companion, her Labrador retriever Jake, to bed with her, who would lie down by her bed with her every night and protect her. She said, Jake, be sure to protect me. Keep watch because there's some spooky stuff going on out there. And she pet him and he licked her hand. The girl fell asleep. Sometime in the night, she woke up to a start, having heard something. She sat up and could not see anything out the window. And she whispered to her dog, Jake, did you hear that? And she put her hand down by her bed and he licked her hand and nuzzled it. Okay, everything is fine. He didn't notice anything. So she went back to sleep. Later on that night, there was a sound from inside the house that woke her with a start. Jake, did you hear that? And she put her hand down and Jake licked her hand and nuzzled it and assured her that everything was okay. So she laid back down and eventually went to sleep. Another noise, this time louder, sounded just outside of her room. A bang and a crash. She woke up. Jake, Jake, and put her hand down, pet her dog, and he licked her hand. Is there anything out there, Jake? Is there anything there? No growl, no whimper. So she hesitantly laid back down and fell asleep. In the morning, she woke up and her bedroom door was open. And she ran out to see if Jake had been let out to go eat. And when she got into the living room, her mother and father were slaughtered on the floor, blood everywhere. The phone was ripped out of the wall. The front door was busted down. She could not find Jake anywhere. She ran back to her room to grab her phone, and she noticed a note on the floor where Jake had been laying. And on that note, scribbled in blood, was the message, maniacs can lick hands too.
Oh, damn.
And that's Bedtime Story, ladies and gentlemen.
I want you to know that I was sitting back. It was like, I don't want to be this close to her face because I feel like she's going to leap out. Oh, so good. Thank you. You know, you have the best delivery when it comes to those two. I swear.
Thank you. I love telling a scary story.
In fact, a couple of them I've made little videos for you.
Yes, I love those. Like, no sooner does my Deadtime Stories end than Mickey has like fully formed video, like the best highlights of my show. Yes.
Because there was one I know in particular that I did, and I added the sound effects to it because it freaked me the hell on out. Oh my God. It's like, it literally, I clenched my butthole. I was like, what? Because that could really fucking happen.
Right. And that's why I'm excited about writing my own stories now, because I'm writing about things that make my butthole clench. So
there it is.
If this girl gets spooked, you better hang on to, it's going to be a ride.
Yes, I almost feel like I need to find those and like repost them for good old times.
Yes.
Good old times. Oh my gosh. Thank you again. This was a lot of fun. I feel like I need to have you back if you want, once you launch your website or your YouTube.
Sure.
Let's have you back to launch it.
I will do this whenever you want.
Yes.
Ready?
I'm just bummed you couldn't perform, but you were right. We would have been flagged and probably would have been shut down.
I know. I could always, pull out my broken down ukulele and I can sing an original tune sometime. I'll start haunted melodies and we'll start performing those.
Oh my God. I honestly, it's like, if it's worth it, I mean, is it worth it just to find music that allows, they have this stuff where you can go to the websites, and because even with like when I make these videos, there are songs that the licensing is there to use. Mm-hmm. But is it the same when it's not a mainstream like 80s song? Is it not the same?
I mean, I perform all kinds of music. So I am not beyond experimenting with any. So,
Because even if I were to like get permission from unsigned artists, I just get the feeling they would be flagged. It's stupid.
right, right.
I get it because it's. I mean, I guess it's not stupid. Let me take that back. I think it's great that they're looking out for the artists.
Sure.
It's like we have to figure out another way to have fun with it because that's fun. That's the whole part of drag is that you take a song we all know and you do a fabulous performance to it.
Thank you. Yes. Let me live my fantasy. Jeez.
Let us all see that fantasy. Well, as we close this out, everybody, please, the welcome. Thank you, Anaconda. Look out for her YouTube coming up. And hopefully sooner than later, you're going to hear more Deadtime stories.
Yes.
And who knows, maybe we'll rip apart and be mad about another movie in the future.
Sure. All of
With
you
our
with me on Facebook, friend me on Facebook, and we can do the Facebook Live thing until YouTube takes off too.
there it is. And
Yeah.
with that, on a Saturday evening, we would, you know what? I'll let you end us out like you end out your shows.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah. You know.
now that you've had your movie ripped apart, your bad Filipino opinions, and your living dead girl, your corpse with the curves, Anaconda, discuss the length and breadth of the kaiju movie problem, and we're leaving you with the Deadtime stories. Just remember to tuck in, eat yourself a snack, turn out those lights, keep your arms and legs up on your bed because you don't know what's under there. And until next time, try to enjoy the daylight.
Oh.
Good night, Darklings.